Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Hearthstone has an autocomplete function for decks that is supposed to give you the best possible deck for your collection. It's not always perfect, because sometimes it tries to infer what would be a good addition to a meta deck if you don't have some specific cards, and sometimes those inferences don't quite go correctly. Overall, however, over the past year, it has been reasonably good at giving you playable decks. Because I have all the cards in standard format that see play, then for me it should give me the best possible decks in standard format. But I'm not sure if the autocomplete function is working quite properly in Scholomance Academy right now. Which is kind of strange. It was said when it was released that it was going to take some days for it to catch up into the new meta and give you valid suggestions, but now it's been a couple of weeks since the last balance patch, so the meta should be somewhat stable. I ran the autocomplete from an empty deck for all classes with my full collection, and these are the results, and these are something interesting, and I think the autocomplete is not quite doing what you would expect it to do right now. First of all, the warrior deck. Okay, warrior deck seems to be, it's like an old school egg warrior. There's Serpent X, there's the Skipper Armorsmith, Battle Rages, Teron Gorfind. What is there not to like? The strangest thing about this deck is that there are no Cochrane Elites in this deck at all. Not a single Cochrane Elite, even though there are Bloodstone Mercenaries. So you don't have that sort of OTK combo in this deck. The best you can do is with Grommash, and that's a little bit weird, but okay, maybe the meta is so aggro that it's better to just have Skippers and Barrow and all sorts of defensive tools. So while this seems a little bit strange in a couple of positions, most notably the complete lack of Cochrane Elites, this looks like a playable deck. It's not something that people are usually playing right now, but okay, this might actually work. I wasn't doubting things too much yet, even when it came to Shaman. Shaman is not doing very well right now, and this Shaman deck is a fairly meta version of this little bit slow-ish spell damage Shaman. I don't think it's a viable deck. I have played a faster variant of this myself, but I know it's not very popular, so there probably aren't enough statistics around it. It just seems a million times better than this, and well, this sucks, but maybe Shaman sucks overall, and this is a somewhat meta variant, I guess. So far so good. But this is where I'm starting to get a little bit curious. Rogue. And we know that there are some really good rogue decks out there right now. Stealth rogues, weapon rogues, miracle rogues. And this one is a Galagrond rogue, which doesn't see any play right now because Galagrond rogue is simply too slow. It's a Galagrond rogue that runs one copy of Vendetta for some inexplicable reason, even though it doesn't have a lot of ways to generate cards from other classes. It also runs a Potion of Illusion. I can only wonder what is the purpose of that card in this. I mean, it does have like Chandy Sparrow, it runs Polkelt, so you could do Polkelt to get the Galagrond and things like that. Pretty sweet, but oh boy. This is starting to be a little bit doubtful. Okay, is this like a real deck? Am I supposed to actually play this in Legend? And things are not getting much better when you look at Paladin. We know that Paladin is doing fine as a class. Libram Paladin is just a good deck. And there are a couple of variants of it. There's the pure variant. There are also some non-pure versions with Pyromancers. Okay, so this is a non-pure version. This has Pyromancers in it. And wait, what? There's Imprisoned Sungils, Broomsticks, Knife Jugglers. There's a low-key Polkelt in this. Salhead Sprites, Cultmaster. I actually was able to find this deck list on HS Replay and look into the statistics, and it is a 48% win rate deck. So someone had actually played this list. A lot of people had played this list. It had hundreds of games played, and it's not able to win half of its games, while Paladin as a class is doing really well. So yeah, that seems a little bit strange. Not quite as strange as this one. This is the Hunter deck, and it's a Dragon Hunter. Alright. Good old Dragon Hunter with double Rotnest Drakes, Stormhammers. For some reason there's one copy of Intrepid Initiate, one copy of Blazing Battle Mage, and one copy of Tour Guide, and one copy of Cult Neophyte. The algorithm has been a little bit confused as to what to actually put into this deck. I wasn't able to find statistics of this deck. It seems to be an amalgamation between a couple of not that great performing Dragon Hunter decks right now, but well, Autocomplete is offering me this. And this is where things really start to go bonkers. The druid. It's an embiggen druid. It is not a guardian animals druid. This deck doesn't even run guardian animals, of course, because it runs embiggen. Those two don't go well together, but wow. Embiggen druid doesn't see any play right now. There's a dragon or poacher in this deck as a tech card against dragons. Against what dragons? Who is playing dragons? I don't even know. And then the deck runs one single copy of Overgrowth. Like, wait, what? There's some really weird stuff going on here. Some really weird stuff. Warlock at least is a return to some sense of normalcy. It is a Galakrond Warlock, alright, could have expected two, but Galakrond Warlock is fine. With the Soul Shards, alright, that's a viable archetype, sure. I'm a little bit curious about the choice to include Void Drinkers. They don't see play in any of the meta versions of the deck. But alright, other than that, it actually seems like it's a reasonably playable deck, and yeah, this one I probably could take on the ladder. And then the autocomplete function is really trying to pick up speed and Mage. Alright, this is a spell damage Mage, Cyclone Mage. It has the Mana Cyclones, it has the Mana Giants, it has the Genvala, the Sorcerer's Apprentices, Firebrands. This is actually a fairly functional meta list of the archetype. Alright. It got something right. But then the Priest deck. I mean, Priest is also doing pretty okay. There's Highlander Priests, there's some Galakrond Priests, there's some Dragon Priests, even without Galakrond. Sort of faster decks, and this is a really weird mix. There's something like... There are like these Dragon Synergies, there's Spellkins there. Then there's Fate Weavers, even though there are very few invokes, so Fate Weavers will be very, very difficult to actually activate. Then there's some random powerful feasts thrown in, and there's a High Abyss Allura, which doesn't see play in any of the meta priest decks. I was able to track down a list that was one card apart from this, and that was like a 47% win rate deck. So yeah, there's some really weird stuff going on here again. And finally, Demon Hunter. Alright, Soul Fragment, Soul Demon Hunter, that's seeing a lot of play. There's some aggro Demon Hunters as well. Which one is this going to be? Alright, it's going to be an aggro Demon Hunter with Polkelt Skull interaction, alright? Some people like it. Polkelt is not really proven to be good in this archetype, but fine, I can accept that. But wait, what? What are you going to tutor with your Polkelt and Skull? You want your star student Stellina? Really? Really? Instead of something like a Claybound Adept? Oh boy, that's an intriguing take on aggro Demon Hunter. I guess it works as long as you don't pick up your Polkelt and your Stellina. Because of course otherwise the deck has cards that are actually being used in this archetype, but there's some really weird stuff going on here. There are no decks that run Stellina at the moment in the meta, none whatsoever. So I don't know where the autocomplete is picking up all of these decks, but some of them look rather hilarious. Obviously, if we are to believe the hype, these are now the best decks in the game. So feel free to rock the ladder with your Demon Hunter deck with the Polkelt pulling your Stellina. Guaranteed outcast. How awesome is that? Yeah. For some reason, the autocomplete function seems to be working less well now in Scholomance than it did before. Back in Ashes of Outland, for example, the autocomplete was still able, it didn't always give you the best list. It actually rarely gave you the best possible list. But usually those were some of the top archetypes and top deck lists of the classes. So, alright, you could autocomplete if you had all the cards, you would get a deck, it would be a playable deck. But right now, multiple of these decks that the autocomplete is offering to me right now are not able to hit 50% win rate on the ladder, while the same classes have decks that hit 55, 60% even. So yeah, beware of the autocomplete. Or alternatively, take this on the ladder and prove me wrong. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.